Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to Life from the Wrist. Hope you guys are doing well today. Happy New Year everyone. I hope everyone had a great New Year's celebration. I don't know when you're going to be watching this, but it's 2021. I hope the year started off on a good note for you or is going well so far. There are a lot of watches out there that you could possibly be looking at to buy in 2021. We actually made a video last year where we talked about watches we thought were worth buying for 2020. And so what I thought I would do is talk about a couple of watches that I would recommend buying in 2021. Some of them are familiar, we discussed them on this channel, some of them are not, some of them are limited edition, but I think that there's some pretty cool watches out there. So there are 5 watches that I'm going to be talking about, excuse me, 6 watches that I'm going to be talking about in this video. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. I'm actually going to start off with a watch that I suggested last year as a purchase, and that is the Bulgari Octafenicimo Chronograph GMT automatic watch. I spoke about it last, about this in our 2020 version of this kind of like, I guess, type of video, but this is essentially a watch from Bulgari that really took the watch world by storm because it is such a unique case shape. It's such a different looking watch and you're not really going to see it that much on people's wrists. What's really cool about this watch is that it actually is fairly thin. It's actually going to wear really nicely on your wrist as well. If you look at the movement, it's obviously a manual line movement, so you know, that's something to consider, but the movement itself is actually super innovative. Like I said, it's very thin. It's only, I think, 3.3 millimeters in height. That's the BVL 318. And the movement itself has some very interesting characteristics that sets it apart from many of the other watches. The case and the bracelet are very kind of, the bracelet itself reminds me kind of like of like an animal's back almost, but it has a very interesting integration into the bracelet, and then has this slate gray kind of finishing to it. It's definitely a brushed finish as well. The dial itself is very legible and has that chronograph movement inside of it. It's a really cool watch. I don't think you're going to see these very often on people's wrists. I said it back in 2020 that these are not going to be very common on people's wrists, but I think it's such a cool watch, something that's off the beaten path, but also packs a lot of punch, horologically speaking. So I definitely recommend that one as the first watch. The second watch I'd actually recommend is the Zenith Defy El Primero 21. This is an innovative watch that was released by Zenith, which essentially has a new concept for a movement where you can see the actual, if you want to call it the oscillating spring actually vibrating itself, and these watches have a skeleton dial to them, so it's pretty cool to be able to see that that movement in the watch itself kind of ticking away. This watch is a very sporty looking watch. It's probably looks very similar to like a Nautilus or a Royal Oak, so it's got similar aesthetics when it comes to the design of the case, but I think it is something different from Zenith. And so I think, again, this is a way to differentiate yourself from kind of the mainstream watches, but also have an incredible watch with a very innovative movement beating on your wrist. Obviously, this watch is fairly expensive and isn't the cheapest, but is a very cool watch with an interesting caliber that I think you would probably enjoy. The next is a watch that I absolutely loved this year. This was actually released in 2018, at least the concept of this watch was, and this is obviously, if you have the money to buy something like this is what I would recommend. This is not something that everyone's going to be able to purchase, but I would recommend the Altiplano Ultimate Concept watch. This watch actually won the big award at GPHG this year, but essentially this is the thinnest watch movement ever created, and it's from Piaget, which is known for very thin movements and is known for creating dressier watches. This watch has a thickness of 2 millimeters, which is, I mean, it's 2 millimeters. It's just mind-blowing to me. It obviously has kind of an interesting dial to it. If you look at the dial itself, the time is at 12 o'clock, and then you actually have visibility into the movement, which is obviously part of the dial, and then you actually can see the mainspring. So when you wind the watch, you can actually see that mainspring doing its thing with the movement. Obviously, this is a very expensive piece, so if you know, this is obviously, if you could buy any watch in 2021, this is probably what I would be leaning to. Going to something a little bit more affordable and also going towards limited editions, I actually am going to recommend the GShock, the John Mayer GShock that he did with Hodinkee. A lot of people have obviously probably seen this Hodinkee edition of the GShock, but John Mayer basically collaborated with Casio to create this 80s inspired, John Mayer inspired G-Shock. The G-Shock itself, it's the reference 6900, and it's basically your everything you can think of when it comes to a G-Shock. That's exactly what you're going to be getting, but it has these really interesting kind of gold and blue accents to it, which takes its inspiration from this piano, this electric piano that John Mayer has and was a big part of his life, kind of growing up in the 80s. And yeah, I think this is a really interesting watch to have. Unfortunately, all of these are sold out on Hodinkee, so you can go ahead and join the waitlist if you'd like. But obviously, I think this was a numbered or a limited pieces. Let me see here. I don't think it was numbered, but I think it was produced in limited quantities, and you can probably find these on eBay for exorbitant amounts of money. But I do think that the fact that this was made by John Mayer, it's a Hodinkee limited edition. I think it's probably something you could look to enjoy. And unfortunately, you're probably going to have to spend more than the $180, which was the retail price. But nevertheless, I think you will enjoy it. Another limited edition that I would recommend came out quite recently, and this was the Aorus the Aorus Big Crown Pointer Date. That was a collaboration between Fratello and Aorus. This was a limited edition of 300 pieces, and this is basically the Aorus Big Crown Pointer Date with a really interesting red dial. I think the red dial kind of sets it apart, and again, it's a limited edition, so it's going to be fairly collectible. You might have to pay a little bit more than retail, but I think it's really cool because of that different dial. It's a limited edition. There's also kind of like a bronze finishing to the case itself, but it's a steel case with a bronze finish to it, and it comes on a taupe leather quick release strap, and there's also a grenado that it has as well. I think it's a really interesting looking watch. I am a big proponent for the Aorus Big Crown Pointer Dates. I've covered it on this channel previously. I think the Solita based caliber that Aorus uses for this is an interesting one, and really is an affordable, really cool watch to have. I love the cathedral hands, which obviously is fairly cool, and the pointer with that little red accents, a great little touch too. So that is my other recommendation. And then the last thing is something a little bit dressier. It is a little bit more expensive, but I think this was probably one of the best dress watch releases of 2020, and that was the Alanganzona Saxonia Thin. This was the reference number is the 211087. This is a white gold version of the Saxonia. You probably are thinking, well, the Saxonia is just one of the watches that Alanganzona creates. Yes, but they also have a really cool black dial that has almost like these star finishes to it. It's really, really cool. And with that, with the kind of starry finish to that dial and the white gold case, this is like the perfect dress watch in my opinion. I also think, like, if you are someone who likes a little bit more dressier watches, this is a really interesting watch to wear. If you are attending black tie events, obviously that's a bonus too. Again, this is a little bit more limited edition. It is exclusively available at Alang and Zona boutiques. There probably aren't too many left in those boutiques. There's only 50 pieces, so it's probably going to be hard to get your hands on these, but I think this is a really cool piece going into 2021 if you are going to be attending black tie events. Hopefully the pandemic will slowly get those events coming back. It's obviously got the German manufacturing of their really beautiful calibers. It's the manual wine caliber that's in this section is the L093.1. Silver finishing, engraved balance cock, you know, the typical Alan and Zona things with really high finishing to it. So that is the last watch that I'd recommend for 2021. Let me know in the comment section below which watches you think you will be looking to buy in 2021. I would love to know. Also, let me know about my picks, which one you think maybe could have stayed in 2020 or perhaps is something you're looking to pick up. Also, if you haven't done it already, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you are new here, as well as smash that like button for us for the YouTube algorithm. And with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching, and until next time.